Hey folks, Adam Welch here with you. A little bit ago I did an excruciatingly long documentary style review of this guy right here. That is Tamron 70-180mm f2.8 Di3 VXD telephoto lens for Sony full frame mirrorless cameras. Like I said, that review went well over an hour, and I know a lot of you don't have a lot of time. Maybe your bathroom breaks aren't as long as they used to be. Maybe you like your reviews short and sweet and you just want the particulars and some test images. You're in the right place for that today. So what we're going to do today is give a brief rundown of the specs of this lens, everything that you really need to know about it. We're going to briefly compare it to that 70-200mm f2.8 G Master from Sony, that OSS, because I know a lot of people are going back and forth comparing this lens to that, the features to the price, that kind of thing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, and then I'm just going to dump a lot of test images on you. Now, all that being said, if you have a little bit more time, want to see a super in-depth review of this nifty little lens, complete with sharpness test, 3 days worth of shooting on location, that kind of thing, check out that longer video. So without any further ado, let's jump in and talk about some of the specs of this lens. Again, the full name of this lens is the Tamron 70-180mm f2.8 Di3 VXD. The model number is the A056. It has 19 elements in 14 groups. The minimum object distance of this lens, very short for what it is. In autofocus mode, it is 0.85 meters. That is 33.5 inches. That's across the entire focal length range from 70 to 180 millimeters. Switching to manual focus, you're going to get a little bit closer. The minimum object distance in manual focus mode is going to be 0.27 meters or 10.6 inches on the wide end of the focal length, and 0.85 meters again, or 33.5 inches at the telephoto length. For the amount of zoom you're getting here, it is very short as far as telephotos go. It is only 5.9 inches long, it's 149 millimeters, and it only weighs 28.6 ounces or 810 grams. That's very important here in just a second when we start comparing this lens to that Sony 70-200mm. The aperture blades, you have 9. They are circular, minimum aperture f22, and of course it comes with Tamron's nice little pedal-shaped lens hood. Reading this directly off of Tamron USA website, by the way. Just looking around this bad boy, very compact. Like I said, for the telephoto length, the focal length that it is, you have a nice little zoom lock. And when you zoom out, it is a externally zooming lens, so it's going to get a little bit longer. I will say that just in my test, I shot mainly with a Sony A7R Mark III. It balanced okay, maybe just a little bit nose heavy, especially when you rack that thing all the way out. If you're going to be using that on a smaller camera, I actually shot on a Sony A7R Mark I. A lot thinner camera, not as much weight. It was extremely forward heavy. Well, not extremely. It balanced really far forward, but it's far from being an anchor on your camera. But if you're going to use it with a smaller camera, like I said, smaller A7 series, or maybe like the 6000 series, a smaller APS-C size camera, if you're going to put it on a tripod, I would definitely recommend getting an aftermarket tripod collar to put on this lens to take some of that weight off of your lens mount. Other than that, you'll notice the lens is very sterile. It relies on your in-camera image stabilization, all that stuff. There's no manual focus or AF to manual button on the outside of the lens. So other than the zoom lock, nothing else really there. So just like all newer Tamron lenses, I love talking about this. It has their very, very impressive weather sealing. You have this rubber gasket on the lens bayonet, and you also have some weather sealing inside here around the focus and the zoom ring. Love that about Tamron lenses. Now, the big thing that was introduced with this lens here is Tamron's new VXD autofocusing system. That autofocus motor, that stands for Voice Coil Extreme Torque Drive. Basically, it's a linear drive motor. It telescopes on itself on 2 little rails. Extremely quiet, insanely quick autofocus. That may be one of the things I love the most about this lens, other than the sharpness, is that autofocus system. It would be great for video, if that's what you're getting this for. I just can't tell you how silent this was. There is a quick video, like I said, in that other longer video, there's a quick sample of me using the autofocus, doing some video with the autofocus, so be sure to check that out too. Along those same lines, I got into a weird interaction with some folks over the focus breathing of this lens. Personally, I didn't see any focus breathing. I was doing that mainly at 70 millimeters though, but I did do some autofocus work and some video across that entire focal length range. I personally didn't observe any. I was pointed towards this one review to where it was showing some. I said, I'm not sure the particulars on that. I don't know if they had the camera set maybe APS-C mode or something. I don't know, but personally, the focus breathing of this lens, I don't think it's going to be anything that you'll need to worry about. Now, the big comparison people are making with this lens is, of course, to Sony's 70-200mm f2.8 OSS. That's their big G-Master lens for Sony full-frame mirrorless cameras. The big difference with this lens, of course, the elephant in the room, this 70-180mm from Tamron goes for about $1,199. The Sony lens, that 70-200mm f2.8, is about $1,400 more. It's somewhere around $2,500. So the argument can be, do you want the more advanced autofocus features and the AF manual button on that lens, all the external function that you have with the Sony, whereas the Tamron relies just on the in-camera stuff? Maybe that's worth $1,400 to you. I personally have not shot with that 70-200mm Sony, so I can't directly compare the sharpness and the overall performance on that, but survey says the Tamron may be just as good, if not better. Plus, as far as the actual physicality of the lens, as far as the specs goes, the Tamron is much shorter and especially much lighter than that Sony 70-200mm. So personally, I don't see myself being any more happy with another lens compared to this for a telephoto for my Sony cameras. So yeah, I probably wouldn't pay the $1,400, but to each to. Okay guys, I told you this was going to be very abbreviated. I'm going to leave it to the sample images to show you what this lens is capable of. Now virtually all of these have been processed in Lightroom to some extent or another, but there again, it's going to show you the bones that you have to work with and what you can expect after you process your photos in whatever program that you choose. Check out the other video if you want to see some raw image files and some real-time evaluation as I bring those images into Lightroom and go through the sample images, the raw images that I made throughout the test. So again guys, I really hope you like this shorter version of the review for Tamron 70-180mm f2.8 Di3 VXD. As always, I welcome any and all of your questions and comments. You know where to put those. If you want to check out that longer video, links down there in the description, and I'll probably pepper it in somewhere here. So again guys, thank you for joining me and enjoy these samples.